Hi guys, this is the first topping device I am reviewing here in my channel. I owned some of the topping DACs a few years back, but DX5 II will be the first one to be reviewed with my setup and my procedure. So why DX5 II? Original DX5 had great reviews, and DX5 II already has a lot of positive opinions on the web. It's also quite affordable at $299. That's base price without any kind of discount, and it's using Sabre 9039 Q2M mobile chipsets in dual setup, and I liked this in every device so far. So this seemed like a no-brainer. A digital to analog converter and headphone amplifier in one for just a little less than $300. Basically, topping DX5 II is a combination of DAC and quite powerful headphone amplifier and quite interesting functionality like parametric EQ. And that's a very rare thing in this price range. Actually, it's a very rare thing to have parametric EQ in DAC at all. So it has a very high quality screen as it's designed for desktop use, but more on that later. Let's start with some specification and some numbers. So it's supposed to be fully balanced design with two Sabre 9039 Q2M chips. It has 10 bands parametric equalizer. It uses Qualcomm QCC 5125 for Bluetooth 5.1 connectivity with LDAC, aptX HD, aptX low latency, and basically all of the current codecs, Bluetooth codecs. It accepts anything up to DSD 512 and PCM 768 kHz. The dynamic range and signal to noise ratio are both specified as 133 decibels. That's amazing number, let's be honest about it. And THD plus noise is specified as below 0.00004 zeros after the first zero, 6%. So that's absolutely low. And headphone output power is everything up to 7600 milliwatts per channel into 16 ohms. That's 7.6 watts per channel into 16 ohms. This means that you could probably power some desktop speakers with output from this part of the headphone amplifier, because that's basically almost 8 watts per channel. And to give you some perspective, the Musical Fidelity A1 stereo amplifier clone that's working in Class A, it's 15 watts per channel, and that's stereo amplifier. Okay, so that's a lot. The headphone amplifier has triple output stage, discrete input stage with operational amplifiers, and discrete output stage. And that's it. Let's talk about the build and let's talk about the functionality. Let's start with a remote. Yes, you do get a remote. This is a very simple remote that allows you to mute the output, power on and off the DAC, select volume, select input, outputs, enter the menu, and you have a set of keys that you can define in the menu of the DAC. You can also control the brightness of the screen and return to the main menu. We won't be using that guy for the review purposes, but it's here. Okay, let's power that guy off. And I was using another remote as a stand, but let's disconnect everything and let's talk about the the outside build. In front, you'll have a full set of headphone outputs. Balanced 4-pin XLR headphone connector, 6.5mm large jack for single-ended connectors, 4.4mm balanced headphone connector for your balanced headphones with the newer updated connector. We have quite large, high quality, high resolution color display here. And we have 4 buttons. 4 because the control knob doubles as a button too. Many input home selectors, volume control or menu control and switch here. Nothing interesting on the top, nothing interesting on the bottom except for the silicon legs, nothing interesting on the sides, and in the back we have one set of balanced XLR outputs, one set of single-ended FCA outputs protected by the rubber caps, USB-A input, USB-B's input, Bluetooth antenna connector, coaxial regular SPDIF connector, optical SPDIF connector, triggers. That's actually interesting because you can control other devices by DX5 II, or you can control DX5 II from other devices. And you have your regular IEC power connector with master power switch here. Okay, so as for looking inside of the device, you need to remove those screws on the sides and 2 more on the bottom, and then you can almost slide the board out. But the thing is that the board is connected via flat tape with the display in front of the chassis. So I wasn't able to remove that without entering beast mode. The thing is that the front of the chassis, that part, is held by 2 screws that you may see one of them here. So in order to get to them, to be able to disconnect the front panel, you need a rather large hex screwdriver, actually that long, and that's something like, I don't know, 17 centimeters or something like that. And then you could unscrew the front plate and disconnect the flat tape connector. But you may be able to see something, at least we will try to see something, using additional light source inside. Give me a second, yeah. And this antenna will not be helping at this moment, so let's remove that. Okay, so we can see the output stages for XLR connectors, and if you've read the parameters on the topping page, they say that they've designed the output stage and filters, output filters on their own. The problem is that all of those components, except for resistors and capacitors, had been sanded down. So those are probably operational amplifiers, the larger ones, and the smaller ones are transistors, probably, but all of them had been sanded down. Then inside we can see XMOS controller, we can see down in the back micro CPU controlling the whole unit, but we cannot see the actual digital to analog converters, the cyber chips. They are probably down over there in the back with the headphone output amplifier. Oh, it got and it lost focus. Okay, so we can't see much, but we can also see the power supply branded with ATAZ, and that's basically it. I was able to take a closer look at the headphone output part. Can we? No, it's very hard to get anything out there. So anyway, the headphone output, the headphone amplifier, is also using PCB elements that had been sanded down. So honestly, there's not much to look at. Okay, in order to close the device, if you'll be opening it up, you need to remember that you have to place the XLR connector exactly in the middle of the cutout, because it's very precise. So you have to do something like that, and it's on. And if you'll fit it properly, the back plate will go a little bit inside of the external chassis. Okay, so that was all, not much, but all we could have as for the internal build. but as you could see, it was basically mostly SMD build without much of the discrete components, meaning the components that would be going through the PCB, because obviously SMD, resistors, capacitors, etc. will also be discrete components. Okay, let's use that remote as a stand once again. Let's connect that guy to my, yes, it's connected to my tablet, and let's play some music. And I will talk you through the functionality here. Okay, so the display is absolutely great, and you can see how good it is when it's in the spectrum analyzer mode. It looks absolutely brilliant. The interesting thing is that this guy really does have parametric EQ inside, and there is also a PC application for precise tuning and creating profiles for this EQ. The headphone amplifier also uses crossfeed because it has fully blown DSP inside, so you can have some crossfeed for your headphones, and the crossfeed creates slightly better, larger and more precise soundstage. But for my review, I had disabled DSP for the base part of the review. And let's start with the menu. Okay, so home is used to switch the display on the home. We can have a vintage view meter animation. We can have spectrum analyzer with view meters down below. Or we can have a regular volume control, frequency, and view meters like that. And that's the display when it's working in the pre-out mode. If we will use line-out mode, then we obviously won't have volume control in the middle, but we will have sampling frequency displayed here in large numbers. Input obviously is used to switch inputs. The volume knob controls the volume, and it doubles as a switch. It can be defined what it's actually switching. In my case, I've left it on the defaults, and it's switching the outputs. But let's get through the menu. I won't be obviously talking about every single position in the menu because you can read that in the manual. But I will point out to a couple of interesting things. So the first one, let's take a look in the display. You can choose the brightness, you can choose view meters level, and that's basically it. Interestingly, you can choose the theme, so the let's say the color palette for the device. Input settings. You can choose the input, and for some of the inputs, you'll be able to define which inputs are used by the device, and those will be on the list of available ones, and those will be switchable through the rotary knob. You can set it to manual, or you can have auto detect, and in this auto detect mode, the DX5 II will detect the active inputs and leave only those on the list. For the USB input, you can choose UAC mode. 2.0 will require ASIO drivers to get the highest sampling rates. UAC 1 will be compatible without any kind of drivers with any kind of PC or Mac or gaming console or TV. Yeah, the rest of them is pretty self-explanatory. Output settings. Here we'll have something interesting. PCM filter. We have a set of filters to choose from. Was it 8? Yes, 8 of them. The default one is F1, but I've chosen to use F6. F6 is minimum phase, fast linear, and that's my favorite filter for all of the digital to analog converters, and I will talk about that when we'll get to the sound quality, why I chose that particular one. We can choose the gain for the headphone amplifier. Interestingly, and this one is pretty nice, we do have a channel balance in this DAC. As you can see, I can move the center image to the right, or I can move the center image to the left. or I can leave it centered. We can define the volume step for the volume control, polarity, line out mode, and that's it. DSP config, that's where the goodies are. Parametric EQ config, yep, you can enable it, you can choose the profile, and crossfeed for the headphone amplifier. Again, you can enable it and you can configure the crossfeed. And in advanced menu, we have trigger controls. We have possibility to memorize the volume and parametric equalizer settings by outputs. And interestingly, we can disable the remote. I don't know why is that here. Probably there are some remotes that are using the same or similar sets of codes. And we can define the buttons on the remote. Yeah. So language factory reset and return. You can update the firmware, and that's something that I've done about 2 days ago, because I've noticed that there was a new version of the firmware available. It's pretty straightforward procedure when you're connecting a digital to analog converter to your PC and power it up by the back switch whilst keeping the knob pressed in. And that's basically it. Then it will be available in your PC as a USB drive, and you're copying the firmware flash file on this additional USB drive, and that's it. It's doing the flash process internally, it resets itself, and it's ready to be used. So pretty straightforward. So let's switch that to some sweet frequency analyzer. Spectrum analyzer, yes, that was the word I was looking for. And let's talk about the sound quality. And as usual, let's start with the bass. The bass is super clear and goes low. It's very neutral, to the point I wished for some additional warmth from something like tube preamplifier. It's detailed and it has very good texture, but doesn't have that earth-moving grunt that would shake the ground. But I really liked how clear it is when it came to low piano or guitar notes. The good thing is that there is no mid-bass bleed, and the mid-bass is kept in check nicely. Okay, let's move to the mid-range. The mid-range is very neutral with very good resolution. It's detailed, and that will let you enjoy the vocals, especially where there will be some intricate changes in tempo or in timbre. Good detail level and airiness make chorals sound really nice. The voices never blend into one sound. You can hear separate singers, and I like that a lot. And now treble. Now this is Sabre. This is ES9039, and you should expect a couple of things from digital to analog converter based on those chips. This shows treble is open and spacious, full of air, but with default filter it has a slight roll-off at the very top end, and I really preferred filter F6. If you take a look at the manual, if you take a look at the measurements of the topping, well, actually we'll do that together. Give me a second. Okay, so let's use that one. This is the default frequency response, and you can see that the roll-off begins actually... I'm sorry. What have I done? No. Let's pause. Yeah, that was weird. That was my finger. Okay, so you can see that the frequency roll-off begins quite early, because that's actually pointing at 10 kilohertz. It's not much, because at 20 kilohertz we have something like 0.3 decibels, something like that. But this also coincidence with the filters frequency response. The default one, F1, goes under this light blue one here. So you can see that the default filter starts to roll off quite early. And that's why I went with F6, because F6 has a flat response to something like almost 22.5 kilohertz, almost. Yeah, and then it sharply rolls off. So for me, the F6 minimum phase, fast linear, was better because the treble was more open. Yeah. All of the filters are described in the manual. Yes, they do change the sound. If the rest of your system has good resolution, you'll be able to hear those small changes coming from the filter of your choosing. Yes, and since we've started to talk about the resolution, let's move to that section of the review. As you probably expect, the resolution is very good. All 9059 based digital to analog converters I've tested so far had excellent ability to retrieve small details and nuances in the sound. And it's the same with the DX5 II. All the small things that I look for in my test tracks were there, as I've said earlier, I really liked choral tracks due to the ability of hearing the distinct voices there. Soundstage and imaging, another technical area. Now this area surprised me, as I had some expectations based on other 9059 digital to analog converters. I expected more or less round soundstage, but topping the DX5 II creates more oval soundstage with more left and right extension than depth. The layering is fine, but I expected more room between layers from dual 1959 setup. Center image, however, is rock solid and all images are clearly defined and precisely positioned. So that's very good. As a headphone amplifier, because that part of the review was all about topping the DX5 as a DAC. Now let's talk about the headphone amplifier. Well, they don't lie about that output power. It really is powerful, and I had no problems with driving anything I've tried, including my HiFi Man area organic planners. There was small bass, but I felt like the head-amp part is more analytical than when the DX5 II works in DAC mode. So I got the best results with headphones on the warmer side of things. Then the match was quite nice. But analytical headphones and the DX5 created slightly too analytical pairings. Summary. Yes, we got to the summary. My review was made with default settings except for changing the filter from F1 to F6. That means that I had DSP on bypass, meaning no EQ or crossfeed present. And these two can change the DX5 II into a real chameleon, as with parametric EQ you can make it bass monster or warm like overdone tube amplifier or super piercing bright and anything between all of those. So this makes the DX5 II a very interesting device, as you can make the sound exactly the way you like, with balanced outputs, with single-ended outputs and headphone outputs alike. I love that part of the functionality and the PC application for precise EQ setting. In my opinion, the DX5 II works better as a headphone amplifier than pure DAC for big stereo setups, as with headphones you will not miss that additional depth that I was mentioning earlier. And having it on your desktop, close to you, within your reach, will let you enjoy that super nice, super sharp and colorful display. I have to admit that I haven't seen display with such a nice resolution on any other digital to analog converter, or actually any other audio device so far, except for some streamers. Yes, like AIMA streamer, because basically those guys use the displays as real displays. But this one is quite amazing. Okay, so that was my little review of second generation of topping the DX5 called the DX5 II. I hope you liked this small video and that it helped you in some way. Thanks for watching and have a great day with your music, guys, and see you next time.